In lack of reflections from the environment, there's frustration, there's despondency, a certain suffering comes into being. Let's take a couple of reflections, some reframings of perspective to help set your mind and spirit at ease. When you set particular anticipations, when you fixate on particular hopes, you set yourself up for disappointment and suffering in the likely scenario where life does not exactly turn to your liking. So with this fixating on what should be, you create suffering for yourself. That's avoidable. Ask yourself the question, why do I do this? Do I do it for my own sake, for my evolution, or do I do it for others? And further, do I do all of this in order to gain recognition and affirmation from the outside world to make myself feel better? If you do that, you live in dependence of the world. You do not live independent in the freedom of your spirit. And as such, ultimately and fundamentally, you do it for your own sake, in order to become a more well-rounded, wholesome, living being. Then whether or not the environment recognizes, reciprocates with whatever it is that you put out there, whether you are praised, pissed on, or simply ignored, neglected, bypassed, as often is the case, it matters not, because the primary goal, your own self-organization, self-harmonization, has been accomplished before publishing, before release. That is your first and foremost fruit in the process. Keep in mind that as you engage in your continued process of integration, self-integration, and the integration of your reflections from the world, the deeper you go and also the further you go from the mainstream, living on the surface. The world is unlikely to praise you for getting to your core, getting beyond your superficial pursuits, integrating yourself when the world itself is not interested in integration. Subjective shells are the boxes where the mainstream lives. Picture hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of boxes floating in the ocean. That's what the world is. We'd like to break out of the box and integrate into the currents of the ocean.